This morning I was going through answering and reading some comments, and I came across a comment from a subscriber by the name of Danny, and I started to type it out to him. It was a very heartfelt question, and I wanted to give it some time and give an answer. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought maybe it was something that we could share on the video. So I know there's nothing worse than someone reading a comment on here, but it's a little bit long, so I condensed it down, just paraphrasing a little bit. But I want to read this to you, and I want to speak to this because it's something I think a lot of us maybe struggle with. Danny writes, "Hey brother, just wondering if vanity is still one of those 7 deadly sins where you live." Well, the 7 deadly sins that's a Catholic thing. Me not being Catholic, I can't really speak to that, but I think I get your point. He goes on to write, "I ask this question, are you happy with the way the good Lord made you?" I guess the question is this: would it be okay for me to get something to make myself look better, or would that be considered being vain? The connotation is that it is fleeting, empty, worthless. I'm not sure what I should do. I think he's been reading King Solomon here. Do I make myself happy and anger the Lord? Can you please help? I'm very torn about this. It's eating me up relentlessly. Thank you, etc., etc., etc. So what he's talking about, if I got this right, is vanity. There's something in his life, maybe it's a physical thing that is bothering him that makes him self-conscious. And the question that he's asking, he's concerned about, is me fixing this or making this correct, whatever this may be. Is this feeding my vanity? Is this something that is contrary to the gospel? Is this something that God is going to make God upset? Well, the first thing that came to mind when I read this is the word cosmos. Cosmos is the Greek word which means order. God took what was chaos or disorder, and by creating the cosmos, made it orderly. That's where the word cosmetic comes from. Cosmetic is, we think of that today, that's a woman putting her makeup on and eyeliner and all that. But what it means in a broad term is when you get up in the morning, you are in chaos. Your hair is messy and you got sleep in your eyes and you need to brush your teeth and all of that. So putting yourself in order, taking what was chaos and making it, applying the cosmetic, which is combing your hair, brushing your teeth, shaving, doing those things, is putting yourself in order, which is right and just. So when we look at the cosmos, when we look at taking something that's in disorder and putting it into order, I think that is something that God has given us by his example and something that's entirely appropriate. Now, is it wrong or is it right? Well, of course, it depends. That's what's so beautiful about the gospel, is that there are not a lot of hard and fast rules that tell you can do this, you can't do that, because life is messy. People's circumstances are messy, and what applies to me may not necessarily apply to you. Maybe I can give an example that helps. You take a guy that may have a growth or a tumor or something on his neck that bothers him, that's unsightly. It's benign, it's not hurting him, it's not affecting his health in a negative way, but it's making him uncomfortable. It's making him feel self-conscious when he goes out into public. Is it appropriate for this man to have this thing removed so that it isn't an impediment to him? I would say absolutely. On the flip side, let's talk about breast implants, for example. We have a woman that's perfectly fine. She may not be super happy with the way she is, but she goes through that augmentation process not because of a physical limiter, but because to feed into her vanity. But we can take that same thing. So that particular procedure, that may be a sin. That may be something that is not pleasing to God. But you take another woman that goes through the exact same procedure because of a mastectomy or something to put herself back in order, that could be entirely appropriate. So again, it kind of depends. I think, Danny, the fact that you're actually asking this question and that you have a concern about it tells me that you're on the right path. I'll give you a story, a personal story that is not like what you're asking, but I think it's similar. I think it helps us to kind of put it into perspective. There was a church gathering that we went to years ago, and there were several hundred people there. It was in a remote part of Montana. It was a very nice weekend, and everyone was kind of getting together, fellowshipping, and just spending time together around fellow believers in this beautiful location. Well, there was a particular woman that really stood out in the crowd in that she was very helpful. She was the first one to be jumping in to help with things. She was clearing all the tables. She was serving people before she served herself. She was, really a blessing to the whole congregation. Everywhere you looked, she was doing something. She was feeding the kids. She was doing this. She was doing that. Well, people immediately took notice and started to comment about this. And the more people commented, the more that this woman wanted to please and to be a servant. And we all kind of left that day thinking, wow, what a helpful and wonderful woman this is to be the way that she is. Well, after that weekend, an interesting thing happened that she came to the guy that was kind of that owned the property there and kind of a pastor of sorts, and she confided in him, and she made a confession to him. She said, all weekend long, I was busying myself doing these things, and I was clearing plates and doing this and doing that. But I want to tell you the truth, I wasn't doing that to be helpful. I was doing it because it was feeding my ego. I was doing it because it made me feel great that people were talking great about me. It had nothing to do with wanting to please people. It had nothing to do with that. It was all about pleasing myself. Now, us, as general or casual observers, we had no idea what the motivation was. We had no idea what she was all about until she came out and just said this. So what looked like to us to be a great act of kindness was very much a self-serving, egotistical process that she was doing to feed into her ego. Back to the question, and we'll close with this. Is it a sin to want to do something to make yourself look better or more presentable? Well, only you know. But I would say, Danny, that you're on good ground, the fact that you're answering this. And if it's something that has become a problem for you, if it's preventing you from going out into public or interacting with people, I think you're on absolute safe ground to just have it taken care of. What a blessing to live in a time where we have access to plastic surgery or procedures that could have only been dreamed of years ago. And if it's something that's important to you, then it's important to God as well. Let's close with this. You know what the very last miracle was that Jesus performed? He healed Malchus's ear. Malchus, of course, was the servant of the high priest. And Peter, when they tried to take Christ and to take him away, to try him, took out his sword, and we know the story. He cut off Malchus's ear. Interesting that Malchus getting his ear cut off, that was probably not a life-threatening wound. However, it would have maimed him, and it would have been, can you imagine going through life missing an ear, being maimed in that way? Even in the midst of all of that chaos and the soldiers and the torches and the fighting, Jesus performed, he saw it fit. He took the time to touch Malchus's head and to restore him back to what we would consider to be normal. You know, I think that tells us a lot right there. He understood. He didn't want this man to go through his life maimed. He was in a position to be able to do something about it. And even in the midst of all of that, he went ahead and did that. So it's hard for me to say. I don't know all your circumstances or what you're dealing with. But if it's something that would make you feel better about life, that would help you to get on and to give you more confidence, I say absolutely go for it. I'm taking a leap here. I know if you're talking about going and getting a tattoo, then we can talk about that's maybe a different story for another time. But again, always remember, if your conscience is pricked, if you are worried about something and you're just not sure about it, the fact that you have the questions, the fact that you are asking God and seeking Him means that you're probably not lost and you're probably on safe ground. When you get to the point in your life where you just don't care anymore, you don't care what anyone thinks, you don't care what your coworkers, friends, family thinks, and you're going to do what you're going to do, that's when you might be feeding into vanity. But the fact that you're asking the question and you're seeking advice publicly, I think means that you're probably on safe ground. Do what you have to do to take care of it, whatever that may be, and go to sleep tonight and sleep the sleep of the just and stop worrying about it. I don't think that there's a problem. There's a reason why God took chaos and turned it into cosmos. There's a reason why He likes order and beauty and symmetry and neatness. Just look at His creation. The creation is the greatest proof that He exists and speaks to His character. There's no reason to have so many varieties of trees and birds and animals and all of these different things. He could just created a utilitarian planet. This is a tree for producing oxygen. This is a lake, a generic lake. But no, there's no two alike. Everything is unique and everything is beautiful and everything speaks to his creative nature, and we are images of him. So we want to have that as well. He's basically put that in us as his children. So don't worry about it. Do what you got to do, and that's about it. That's it. So I hope that helps. I'm not a theologian. I'm not an expert in this, but it kind of touched my heart when you sent that, and you asked me the question, do I have anything about me physically that I don't like? Man, we all do. I've got skinny bird legs. I don't like to wear shorts because I look ridiculous. I've got, I don't know, when I talk and get excited, my eye lifts up, and my ears are not even, and I have to bend my sunglasses, and I broke my collarbone, and my one arm's longer than the other one. We all got problems, right? Very few of us are perfect, but it doesn't matter. Remember that this is a temporary vessel that we're in. This is not our permanent home, and that we will be created anew in that perfect body, and it won't be for long. So just struggle through it. Have as much fun as you can. Don't sweat the small stuff, as my granddad used to say, and stay close to God, and just wait for his coming, and have fun. Have fun with what you've been given, and do the best with what you have. So thanks for watching. May God bless you and your families. Keep us in your prayers, and we'll see you guys on the next video.